So as most of you know, the M1 MacBook Pros actually just ended up coming out, specifically the 14-inch and this new 16-inch ones, and I'm a fan of them. I've already pre-ordered them, and here's the thing. I saw this on Reddit, and I actually went over to their website to pretty much double check this, and it does seem like it's true, which is so crazy. The one little tiny issue I have with these new MacBooks, it's not the notch, it's not the more expensive price tag, which those two things are kind of weird a little bit, but it's totally understandable. They're still selling the M1 MacBook Pros, the 13-inch one, but it's actually with the display, specifically with the corners. And it's almost like once you see this, you can't really unsee it. Now, I've seen a lot of laptops that have this, but I wasn't expecting this from MacBooks, to be honest. And it's actually, when you look at the display, okay, when you look at any display, I'm looking at my LG Ultrafine 5K display, I'm looking at my 5K iMac display, I'm looking at my M1 MacBook Pro display, and every other MacBook I've had for the most part, they all have the same corners on every single side. So essentially the top corners and the bottom corners all match. You know, they're all flat or they're all squared off, but even on iPhones and iPads, they all have the same type of corners. They all have either rounded corners or flat corners. You look at an iPhone 8 or SE2, those things have, you know, the same size corners. With the M1 MacBook Pro, the 14-inch one and the 16-inch one, so the M1 Pro and M1 Max, they actually have rounded corners on the display. Now, this is very strange. I don't really understand why they did this. Now, this is kind of two parts. So on one hand, that's kind of what it is, you know, in terms of the raw display, that's the kind of issue that we have. But another thing that they kind of went to circumvent this is that they actually have, you know, the full screen mode. Essentially, you can go ahead and dim off this actual display. So you can actually go ahead and, you know, have that, you know, consistent menu bar up top, so it'll always be there for the most part, and that will somewhat give you kind of a, you know, so that will give you a squared off edge for the applications you use. But for the actual display, it's rounded up top and it's, you know, flat on the bottom. So I don't really understand why Apple did this. You know, it seems kind of out of character for them to actually go ahead and drop something like this. Now, is this a big deal? Probably not. I really don't even think many people will even notice, and I think more people focus around that notch more so than the actual display and everything like that with the corner. But it is very interesting that they did this. I've seen a couple laptops in my day that actually did have this design, and they were fairly cheap laptops. You know, they were not the ones you would go and spend over $1,000 on. I'm sure there are a ton of cases where laptop manufacturers went ahead and put rounded corners up top and squared off or maybe even uglier designs. But with an Apple product, you know, something that costs $2,000 for the base model that isn't even as good as the next step up. But for an Apple product, especially a MacBook that costs over $2,000 to buy, I think it's a very strange thing that they did. But I think overall, I think it's okay. I would have loved to have seen rounded corners on all the corners. That would have been so beautiful. I don't even care about the notch too much. You know, I don't even think that's that big of a deal. But the uneven corners kind of throw me off a little bit, to be honest. So in terms of that covers it up there. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, help me so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.